Oh, you meant me. I thought you were talking about somebody else then when you said they've got a brain for wrestling. Yeah, it's an absolute honour to be on the Mr. Warren Hayes show, finally solo. Yeah, it's your fault. It is your fault. Around that, yeah, around that. Mhm. Uh, how could I resent you? I mean, for context, when I got into the podcasting world, I reached out to a few people who I knew were excellent at it, and you were definitely one of those guys. And the advice you gave me was I wouldn't be doing this today if it wasn't for listening to your advice. So you're to blame for why we watch. Well, partly to blame. Well, as long as they can hear me, I don't think they really need to hear you. Sorry, guys, there are technical difficulties. Anyway, what's? Oh, yep, still can't hear you. You- It's me. I've come on the show, and it's like the the Max Hayes show. It gives me ample time to share it. So,
Okay. How's this chat? Oh, I still have the. Can you hear me now, chat? Okay, so they can hear me.
hello, can you still hear me?
We can hear you, Mags. Okay, so we got. Okay, there's something wrong with one of my overlays here. Clearly, thank you, everyone. Now, give me a quick second, chat. We're gonna do some live technical setup here, where I'm going to include Magsy into this view here so that you can see him because everyone wants to see
I
Mags.
don't know if that's a good thing.
No, it's actually the best thing. Where is it? Okay, so hang on. Yeah, and you know what? We're gonna do this nice and proper. There's Mags.
I'm here.
There we go. And so this is this. I don't know why this isn't working. Why the other overlay thing wasn't working, but clearly I'm gonna have to debug that. And the joys of doing things live, right?
Yeah, and this is why it took 10 months because you knew this was going to happen.
We knew this would happen. We knew Max was going to jeopardize all of this, right?
Absolutely.
We just knew it.
Oh, which corner am I going in?
I think we're gonna do this like that. Do one of these like that, and then I'm gonna go for me here. Unlock that. Raise up a bit.
Stretch man to the top.
There we go. I think we're good. I think we'll be good. I think we'll be good like this. It's not ideal. It's not the setup I prefer, but it's the setup we'll get. So, folks, let's start this one over.
I'm on the bottom.
Let's start this one over then. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I am, of course, Mr. Warren Hayes on this Saturday morning. And you're probably wondering, hey, everybody, hey, what is Warren doing here on a Saturday morning? Usually we see his stupid face on Thursdays, and sometimes on other channels on other days, but what the hell, man? I was having a nice Saturday morning, and then I get a notification on my phone that you're going live. What's going on? Well, it turns out that we have a pay-per-view this weekend for NXT. Portland, Takeover Portland is happening this weekend. So, of course, I usually do my prediction shows on Saturday morning, and it's a special prediction show because it's a special takeover. It's a bigger takeover card than what we're used to. It's happening on a Sunday. That's something new. So, of course, if I want to make it special, then I need someone special to talk about it with. And I am thrilled and happy and overjoyed to have with me this morning the host of Badlands podcast and the Why We Watch podcast, a good friend, a good guy, a good brain for wrestling, ladies and gentlemen, from all the way over in jolly old England, it's Mags. How you doing, Mags?
I'm doing better now than the first time we attempted this.
What? We did? What first time? No, we're retcon. There was no first time. Yes, for those of you who were watching live, we did have some technical issues, but everything is fixed now. And if you're listening, so if you were watching here live on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes this morning, you know what happened. We got a little technical glitch, a little snafu, but we got it all fixed now. And if you're listening to this on your podcast application that you can, because the Mr. Warren Hayes Show is available on all podcast platforms, you don't know what we're talking about, and that's fantastic. It just comes across as cool. But yeah, we do record this live. I record all my podcasts live, and we have another live session with a bunch of live people here this morning, such as Tim Traver is here, Benoit as well has joined us in the chat. Ryan Smith is here as well. Chris Jacobs, DK, Nicole Silver as well. J.S. Brown is here. Enzon as well. Thank you everyone for taking time out of your Saturday morning to come here. I was going to say, see, that's it. Mags isn't taking time out of his Saturday morning, but still he's taking time out of his Saturday to come talk about Portland. And I'm glad you're here, Mags. And we were talking about this before coming on air. I don't know why it took so long for me to invite you on the show, because we've talked a lot. Like you actually had me on your show on Why We Watch, and I think I was like the fifth or sixth guest, something like that. So early on in the conception of the show, and this was like 10 months ago.
Yep,
I'm a horrible person.
You are, but I'll forgive you. I blame it on time zones. It's always the time zone's fault. No, like I said, you were a big inspiration in my start as a podcaster. I reached out to a few people for advice, and you were one of the more receptive ones. And basically, it's your fault, or you're partly to blame for Why We Watch being a thing, and then me spreading my podcasting wings to Badlands and Five Rounds. So yeah, it's all your fault, Warren.
Well, why don't you tell us? Why don't you tell us, just to make sure, just in case anyone doesn't know exactly who you are? What is it you do in the realm of content creation in regards to wrestling for the internets?
Well, Content creation is a stretch, I'd say. I put stuff out there. No, but I started with a podcast called Why We Watch, where I speak to guys like yourself, content creators, and just fans of wrestling about their love of this sport, why they got into it, what they like about it, what they don't like, why that kind of went into creating content and stuff like that. I've always enjoyed the conversations about wrestling, and that was a way to basically put it out there and kind of shine a light on some of these people who have podcasts or create content who don't kind of get the eyes on the product or the listeners on the product. And I thought, if I can get one more listener to them and having a conversation with them, then that's a good day all around. Then I started a podcast with my very good friend, Paul Tolley, Mr. at Raincounter on Twitter, and we discussed the Badlands of podcaster, Mount Rushmore of wrestling. We take a different topic every week, and we just have a guest on, and we thrash out a Mount Rushmore. It usually goes very, very wayward very quickly, but it's a great podcast to listen to, a great podcast to do. And yeah, it's just fun. I think it brings a lot of fun back into the wrestling world, especially with how toxic and angry wrestling Twitter can be sometimes. It's good to have a little bit of fun every now and again.
Well, it is. I agree. And it's a good spot. What Darren does is very, very loose and very positive. And no, but it's true. It's talking
Definitely
a lot
loose.
about wrestling and just enjoying the concepts of wrestling instead of getting into petty arguments and stuff, which is most of the time very useless. But anyway, look, I'm excited that you're here. I'm glad you're here. And you guys should, of course, go all ahead and give him give Darren a follow, a like, a subscription to all of his stuff.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, for sure. But you're here everyone is here listening, watching, so that we can talk about wrestling, NXT Portland. It's the first pay-per-view it's the first NXT official pay-per-view from NXT. This year, because we did not get a Takeover Royal Rumble weekend. It was there was a lot of there was some NXT implications in the Royal Rumble, but per se we didn't get the event. But we are getting it now. It's the first standalone NXT. Well, not the first, but it's the first on a Sunday. Mm-hmm. And we have 6 matches on it as opposed to the typical 5 matches. So it's going to be a little longer without going main roster lengths. I don't think it's going to be done. We're going to be done by 10 like it's usually the case. I mean, clearly NXT has entered a new era with the USA stuff. Clearly, they're trying some new stuff out. How do you feel about NXT having its own pay-per-view that's not on a Saturday with one of the big 4?
I'm excited and slightly concerned at the same time. I'm excited because it shows that NXT is becoming its own thing, its own entity, but having its own pay-per-views and like I said, we've got 6 matches. It's feeling almost like it's the fingers of Vince McMahon kind of getting in there, and that's the worry. That's the worry for me, I think. Mm-hmm. And NXT has been fresh and different to the rest of the WWE product. And if Vince gets his grubby little mitts on it, then it might just end up being a typical third brand of WWE, which kind of takes away the whole essence of NXT for me.
A bit of the magic, right? A bit of the stuff that we really liked about it. What's interesting to me is what's interesting though, when you're talking about Vince, there have been very, 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 very strong reports in regards to the fact that Vince isn't around half as much as he used to be, and his involvement in NXT has always been non-existent to minimal, I guess. Do you think that the fact that NXT is on USA, which is a long-time business partner for WWE. Do you think that because they're on cable, because it's a one of many revenue streams, I don't want to say a significant one, we're still not quite sure, despite the financial reports that we got 2 weeks ago, still not quite sure how much NXT is bringing in to WWE, but it can't be just like, a club sandwich. What do you think? Do you think that that the fact that it's on a cable show now, that maybe Vince is a little more interested in it making money, or what do you think?
Yep, I think you've hit the nail absolutely on the head, and it's also WWE's relationship with the USA. I mean, they've been partners for such a long time. They've had shows on there for so long, and I think NXT has to live up to Vince's standards to keep that relationship going. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. The fact that it's on TV, the fact that it's now hopefully making the money, I think Vince is a lot more interested in it now than he was when it was a network exclusive show.
Guys and gals, if you wanna have your comment or question or chat thing be read on air, donate a super chat. It'll be my pleasure. If you have questions for Mags and I, please go right ahead and do it. And I don't want to blindside you here, because I don't know how deep you got into the financial reports that came out a couple of weeks ago, but rumors, that the network might be shutting down, right? That the WWE network, or at least being very different from what we've learned to love about it, right? There's during the call they were talking about selling off some of the premium content from the network off to other OTT services, over the top streaming services. People have been talking about the upcoming Peacock streaming service, which is NBC Universal. There's also talk about Amazon Prime, Hulu, DAZN. What are your thoughts on, like, let's say WWE takes out the pay-per-views like Portland this weekend. What do you feel? How do you feel about that? What do you think the future holds for the network then?
From a personal note, and it's going to sound like I'm getting on like a soapbox, but I would have no real need for the network then with NXT and NXT UK, the two major shows that I watch from the WWE umbrella already on British TV. I'd have no reason to keep hold of the network.
NXT UK is broadcast on television in the
it's
really?
On a channel. It's on the Paramount channel.
I didn't know that. So you can watch it off the network in the UK.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
I wouldn't have any need for it.
Sure.
The pay-per-views are I mean, I don't watch Raw, I don't watch SmackDown, but I can still watch them on UK TV anyway. And so the only thing that would be clinging on would be the classic content. And the thing is, if the classic content was on there and the network was new now, it would be worth it. It would absolutely be worth it. But we've been spoiled with all this content at such a low price. I think there would be a lot of backlash. And for me, the reports coming out of the recent economics meeting, I think they felt to me like a testing the water kind of situation, where they put that out to gauge the reaction, and the reaction has been almost unanimously negative about it. So I think that might be a kind of like a tester to see whether they could have got away with it.
Sure.
I think it's more likely now that we'll get a tiered system where if you want the whole shebang, you'll be paying $15 or £15 over here in the UK, and then we'll get lowered down to like a $10 or maybe a $5 or even a free system. So yeah, if it goes the way that they've said in the meeting, it's the network feels dead in the water.
I mean, it's and here's the thing, how do you, okay, I could have definitely understood the idea of getting a tiered system and then like having the pay-per-views, let's say, like you said, for $15 a month, £15, which would be like $20, I guess, $22. And that I can understand for like the premium tier. But if they're taking the pay-per-views away, and essentially all you end up with is the vault, right? The archive, which is still, in my opinion, very, very much worth a $10 monthly price for the hours upon hours of historic wrestling content of everything you have there. To me, it's still worth $10. That's the question still remains, like, what do you do with upper tiers? Like, I'm not ready. I wouldn't be ready to pull out $20 a month just to have access to the vault. And on one end, it's because, well, or mostly I should say, it's because WWE decided to price it this way, right? Because they decided to say, look, you get all our pay-per-views, including WrestleMania, plus you get the vault, plus you get it for $10. So in my mind, you know, I can, like I said, I can live with the pay-per-views going away because the vault I feel is worth at least that. But if they raise the price on it, then I think there's no point. If you're not giving me extra content, I've already been paying $10 a month for the vault, for the pay-per-view, for NXT, for NXT UK, for 205 Live. But if you're snipping things away and you're jacking the price, and as much as Ride Along can be fun,
it's not $10 fun.
Nah, it's just not. It's just not. And go ahead.
It's not only that; it's they've set the benchmark of how much the streaming services would cost, and now you look at the likes of New Japan World, you look at Watch Stardom, and they're all lower priced than the WWE's now. So for them to then hark up the price, they're going to be pushing a lot of fans' noses out of joint, and
what bugs me here is that, but I understand also the context. Like, this is an earnings call. It's for investors. So they talk about money, but there's, that's always the currency, that's the basic currency, of course, but that's always the benchmark, the KPI, the performance indicator that they use. But I feel like creative companies like WWE and other studios as well need to have an indicator for the success of their creative, because I honestly do believe that if WWE was putting out a more compelling product, that it drew in more people because the product is better, the network would be doing better, and then we wouldn't be in a position where we're wondering, well, what's going to happen to the network, so on and so forth. And then ultimately it's going to be the consumer, or in this case, the WWE faithful viewers, who are going to bear the brunt of either a price hike or an underrepresentative service, something that is overpriced maybe for what it's worth. And ultimately, we as the fans are going to suffer for creative that just hasn't been there. And I think there is a very compelling argument to be made that in the 5 to 6 years that the network has been around, creative has been very, very bland and hasn't been giving reasons for people to subscribe. And I'd say if there was a way, outside of ratings, outside of money, to just show that to show a correlation between what they do creatively and just to show a correlation between what they do creatively and the amount of money they're making, well, maybe these types of decisions wouldn't be necessary,
Yeah, I agree. And for me, when the network came along 5 years ago, there was no competition for WWE in realistic terms. Whereas now there is competition, and it's competition coming from all angles. It's not, obviously we've got AEW, but we've also got New Japan and kind of that foreign wrestling. We've got the rise of Brit wrestling.
And Ring of Honor just announced that they're going to finally put out all of their back catalog onto their streaming service, onto Honor Club, which is about bloody time.
Yeah,
because they've got most of the WWE roster on tape there. So that's something else,
Exactly. So you've got all these kind of lapsed fans who are getting disinterested in the WWE product. They've now got other places that they can look for their wrestling content, and kind of cutting off the network where it's cutting your nose off to spite your face. You're obviously going to keep the hardcores. They're not going anywhere, but you're going to lose those fans who are being attracted by AEW, who are being attracted by New Japan, especially when they're giving you the product at a much lower price point.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. Hey, we got off track. Let's talk about NXT. Let's talk about NXT Portland, Takeover Portland. It's going to be a good show. Gals and guys, remember, we're going to be running through this. Drop us your predictions as we go along, because even though Darren and I are always completely 100% right, you can still have different opinions. Mags, did you know that Poppy is going to be performing at NXT Portland tomorrow?
Do you know, they've never mentioned it on the network at all. Not 5 times a show.
She's going. Are you a Poppy fan?
I don't know who Poppy is. I'm old. I don't know these new things.
She's the one that they have her on quite often for their Loud themes, for NXT Loud.
Yeah.
And she's the one who performed Io Shirai's entrance theme there, or at least performed a song to which Io Shirai came out with at the. What was it? I don't think it was at War Games. It was the pay-per-view before that. No, she's a regular. I think Triple H really likes her.
Yeah, I've heard some of her stuff. I can't say I'm a huge fan, but yeah, good on her.
Good on her.
Yeah.
Get some of that Saudi money from the backhand. It's like you don't have to go, but you still get some of that sweet money. But then again, is WWE getting the money because the Saudis aren't paying them? Anyway, we're not. This is not what we're talking about. This is something else. All right. Here we go. I'm going to run through the card in reverse order that is presented on WWE.com. So it's not me editorializing. I'm not giving you the match order or what I think the match order is. This is how it's going. So we're going to start straight off the bat talking about Johnny Gargano versus Finn Balor. This one has been a while in the making. A couple of injuries kept us from having this match earlier. I'm going to let you go right into this, Max, but I'm going to lead you in on it with this comment. This is the kind of match that I don't care about the story or the build-up. I just want to see these two guys fight.
Yes. This is NXT OG versus new NXT for me. It's a dream match. It's an absolute dream match. I can't wait for it. And I'm probably going to be repeating myself over on this show, but this has potential to be the show stealer.
Mm-hmm. It really does. It absolutely does. The Finn. Let's talk about Finn a little bit. Floundering on the main roster, never knew exactly what to do with him, despite the fact that I'd know what to do with Finn Balor if I had him in my promotion. That's fine. But hey, that's neither here nor there. Clearly didn't have a direction, tried some stuff out, didn't work, sent him back to NXT. He reinserts his Prince Devitt persona, a lot more aggressive, all about him. And they're, he actually refers to himself as the Prince, which is a nod for all us marks. And we all dig it. It's been a good move, hasn't it, Darren?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was something that Finn needed. It was something that NXT needed with the move to USA, and obviously the challenge of AEW. And aside from the injuries, I think it's worked out really, really well for him. He looks happier. He looks more energetic. It looks like he's enjoying his wrestling again. And a Finn Balor that's enjoying his wrestling is a sight to behold. This is great. It's the person who he attacked first when he came back. He obviously Pele kicked Johnny Gargano. And like I said, it's NXT old versus NXT new. Johnny Gargano's Mr. NXT, Mr. Takeover. And yeah, it's just going to be an outstanding match. If you just let these two guys do what they do best, this is going to be an absolute barn burner.
Finn had a match at War Games against Matt Riddle, which was supposed to be Johnny Gargano before Gargano got hurt. And it was rumored that Finn was wrestling with the flu. Like he was ill. He's looked good. He's got good matches, but we haven't seen like a big Finn Balor match yet. And, you know, if you were to ask me, I think the last big Finn Balor match we saw was his match against Brock Lesnar last year for the Universal title, where he shined in that match. And
it was good against the guy Ilya Dragunov over in NXT UK.
That was
a banger of a match.
You're right. That was good and solid. This is it's a bigger platform than the Worlds Collide, though, you know, and it's and it's very tied into NXT as well. Do you think that do you feel that Finn has something to prove here?
Yeah, I do. I think his run on the main roster. Obviously, he came up and he was the Universal Champion for all of a day, and he's never kind of reached them hearts again. And yeah, you can get frustrated. You can see how he got frustrated because he was almost kind of phoning it in because he knew he was not the guy who went up to the roster with all that kind of piss and vinegar in him. So I think coming back down to NXT where he's got that kind of freedom to work his own kind of match, and that kind of the stars down there are the kind of stars that Finn Balor absolutely could have barn burner of matches with. And I mean, you look at the likes of Adam Cole, any of the guys of the. I mean, I would love to see a Balor versus Roddy Strong match. I think that would be an absolutely amazing match. So yeah, I think we're seeing a very renewed Finn Balor again, a Balor that's enjoying his wrestling, and it's just great to see.
Z2CU, welcome to the chat. Who do you have winning this one, Mags? Who's your man in this situation?
I think that this story has still got legs. So I think that we see a Balor victory. I think Johnny's pretty much bulletproof when it comes to takeovers. He could lose every takeover in the history of the world, and he would still be counted as Mr. Takeover. Where Finn has lost quite a few of the big matches since coming down. Potentially, I can see him going for a run as the NXT champion in the near future. So I think Finn could do with the win more than Johnny could.
I agree entirely. I think Finn is going to pick up the win here. He needs it more. I think it makes more sense, and I think it's a good idea to have a very strong, very confident, very heelish Finn Balor up at the top. I think it works. I think it's a smart move because Ciampa's going to need to fight someone down the road. Oh, am I spoiling something here? Let's
Telegraphed.
And chat seems to think that Finn is going to win as well. So I think we're all in agreement. Next, Dakota Kai versus Tegan Nox in a street fight. This is a feud that ignited over at War Games in the most spectacular way possible. It is still one of the best heel turns in recent memory. Dakota Kai's attack on Tegan Nox was fantastic, and the heel turn was so perfectly woven into the story of the War Games match as well. This was all good stuff. It was all such good stuff. and they've been riding this one out with Nox and Kai as well. They even had a match a couple of weeks ago where Tegan Nox got the win, and we kind of all thought that would be that, but no, they're still going for this. And I gotta tell you, Darren, I kind of feel that it was a bad idea to have them fight before reaching this point here.
Yeah. When this match was announced, it was kind of what? Why is that happening? I thought it was the end of the feud when Tegan picked up the win. But I'm a massive Dakota Kai fan. I think she's so underrated, such a talented performer. For me, though, she was kind of getting lost in the shuffle with all the faces down there in NXT. When we had the likes of Kairi down there and then Candice LeRae, she was kind of like being overlooked as the cowardly face. But this transformation was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It's what the Bayley transformation should have been.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm all for Dakota Kai. I think she's such a talented worker, and this feud has been bubbling over. It's not. I can't say it's been the best feud. It could have gone a lot better. Like I said, the match a couple of weeks ago made no sense. I would have waited. I would have had maybe the match end with a little bit of like a dusty finish maybe, and then get to this point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's still going to be another one. What could potentially be a barn burner.
I think so too. I appreciate how much Dakota Kai has leaned into her heel persona here. I think she's done a really fantastic job. Tegan Nox, I agree, she's fantastic, and clearly they love her. I think Triple H sees a lot of potential in her because the Mae Young Classic injuries, she kept coming back and they kept giving her these great positions. And you were talking about her being lost in the shuffle. I mean, I've talked about this on the main show a couple of times. It's a good problem to have, Darren, when your women's division is so bloody deep that you look at two fantastic talents like Nox and Kai, and you're like, these women are great, but there's also others who are equally or better as well. And not saying that these women aren't good. That's the thing, is that the women that you do have who you could consider better wrestlers being on top of their game, then it just starts to blow your mind at how deep this roster is, Darren.
Exactly. I mean, you look at this card and there's no Io Shirai, there's no Candice LeRae, there's no Mercedes Martinez, there's no Casey Catanzaro. It's mind-boggling how amazing this NXT women's roster is, and they're so talented, just such great workers.
All around. It's a street fight. So they're going to be using all sorts of knee braces, clearly, all sense of, how do you think this is going to end up? How do you feel this is going to go? Is Kai going to pull one off? Is Nox going to completely dominate? What do you think?
No, I think with Nox picking up the win a couple of weeks ago, I think Dakota Kai is going to get that win back. Where it goes after that, I can't really say. I mean, it potentially has still got legs in the feud. But yeah, I see a Dakota Kai win here.
They have to rubber match this, right? Because otherwise it's 50-50 booking and
well,
that serves no one.
That. WWE love 50-50 booking.
I know, but NXT's kind of different, isn't it? It's supposed to be, please. I hope. But here's the thing. Let's say Tegan Nox loses. Let's say, and Dakota Kai picks up the win. That's usually what happens, Warren, by the way. If someone loses, the other one wins. Then we're at 50-50. And, if we don't want a 50-50, then we move into a rubber match. How do you escalate from a street fight then?
Well, exactly. But they did it with the Gargano and Ciampa feud.
But then again, we're not at the same level of storytelling either. It's like,
yeah, we certainly not. Like I said, I don't know where it goes from this.
I mean, we're just spitballing, right?
Maybe we get interference. Maybe it is a kind of like a screwy finish, and then it calls for a third match. Who knows?
Who knows? We'll find out tomorrow for sure.
Definitely.
Definitely find out tomorrow. But all I can say is if they do have Dakota Kai win, I hope they don't just leave it as a 50-50.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Chad
agreed.
seems to think Dakota Kai is going to win as well. Drop your predictions, folks. Let us know, because we are going to talk about the NXT North American Championship. It's going to be on the line. Champion Keith Lee versus, Dominic Dijak. Okay, we're going to leave it as such. Yeah, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. WWE is a universe. It's a thing where they take away names because, it's a little too long. It's not Andrade Cien Almas anymore. It's just Andrade. For a while, it was just Ali. Why the hell did they think? Dominic Dijakovic. It does not work. And it boggles my mind. Because when he goes up to main roster, they're going to shorten it. He's not going to be called Dominic Dijakovic. He's not. He's just not. Anyway.
No.
This is going to be good, Mags.
Yeah. It is. Dijak will... These are two absolute big beefy boys, aren't they? Just the things these two guys can do in a ring defies belief. I'm surprised that they've gone back to this well so soon, though, knowing how many times that these two have wrestled recently. But they've never let anyone down. They've put on amazing match after amazing match after amazing match. So yeah, it's going to be a good one.
These guys,
another one that could potentially steal the show.
Yes, as well, because these guys know each other very well. The Bola tournament, the Best of LA tournament from PWG, these guys fought each other quite a bit. They know each other very well. They came up together. They boosted each other. And we got to see glimpses of this in NXT. Yeah, I think the fact that they're going back to it is interesting. So soon, but I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. This is just the type of fight that you want to see off on a takeover card. One thing I thought that was really interesting this week on NXT was the Mark Henry segment,
yeah,
where he was really like, good. Hey, big men in WWE used to do this, but now big men today do this, and I'm just sitting there. And I like Mark Henry, and I think if you're going to have a guy talk about what big men used to be in WWE, yeah, you go get Mark Henry. That's fine.
Yeah,
but I thought
he's right though. He's right, because Keith Lee does things that no man of his size and build should ever be able to do.
And Dijak either. That's the thing.
Yeah,
both
exactly.
of them. But I'm like, this. You know what it felt like? It felt like a hard sell. It felt like, like when WWE is unsure that you fully understand what you're getting yourself into, they'll stuff it down your throat, and I was like, you don't need to sell me on Keith Lee and Dijak. And if they had broadcast this, let's say on Raw or SmackDown, then I'd understand, because it's not necessarily the same audience that watches NXT. Mm-hmm. So I understand that. But your homegrown NXT audience does not need to be convinced on Keith Lee and Dominic Dijak going at it. They already know, because at the very least, if they have at the very least, they've seen the matches in NXT, or they're already aware of who they are because of their PWG stuff. It was weird to me. It was just strange that they felt compelled to be like, this is what the big men these days do. It's like, we know. That's fine. We're okay with the match. We want the match. You don't have to like drive it. I thought it was odd to a certain extent.
for me, you just put the words Keith Lee versus Dominik Dijakovic on a piece of paper, and I'm excited for it because it's going to be an amazing match. The only reason I can think of why they felt the need to push this match like to the forefront is if one of them's going up to Raw or SmackDown, and they kind of want to introduce them to maybe some newer NXT fans who've been watching, who's come over to watch the product, and that's the only reason I can think of, to be fair.
Here's the thing, and here's something else. You mentioned it. This is your fault that I'm going to talk about it now, Darren. WWE has a problem, an inherent problem in rewarding its longtime viewers, thanking them for watching their product over the years, because they're constantly reminding us what the Royal Rumble rules are, because we're doing, hey, last week this happened, I know, I watched it, okay, but then again, there's an argument to be made that most television series will start off with a stinger, to sort of recap what's been happening. That's fine, okay, but still, I mean, and last night on SmackDown, and this is what I thought was particularly egregious, they're saying, hey, Goldberg's going to be here next week, by the way, this is who Goldberg is, and then they run a package to remind us who Bill Goldberg is, where they're like, this is a guy, he's been in WCW, he's been a champion, he's beaten up Brock Lesnar. And I'm like, God damn, man, you don't need to tell me this. I am a faithful viewer. And then it's not as if they have to churn these out just in case all of these new WWE viewers who are tuning in every quarter hour, all this new viewership that's skyrocketing. You wouldn't want them to feel left out. There are no new viewers. It's all
there
us.
might be one wrestling fan who hasn't watched anything before and just nipped over and thought, what's these guys in Lycra doing in this ring? I'm interested.
I mean, they don't, at the start of an American football game, see, I said American football. At the start of an American football game, they don't run down the rules every week just to make sure that the new viewers understand how a goddamn football game works. They'll let you figure it out. And that's the thing, is you're not rewarded properly, at least with Raw and SmackDown, as a longtime viewer, because then they'll retcon the past. They'll ignore stuff in the past that you remember, but they'll be like, nah, that never happened. We're like, well, what's the point of me watching over the past few years? NXT's better with this, and I think that's why it was very, very strange for me to see this kind of hard sell video on NXT about two guys that the NXT fan base clearly know about and are interested in. It's as if they did it for Vince McMahon.
And what did I say at the top of the show? He's getting his grubby little paws in there. But I'm just glad
broad shoulders. He has broad shoulders. I don't know if you heard.
I'm just glad I got a Warren rant.
It's all on you. You triggered me. I'm such a snowflake. So Mags, does Keith Lee retain? Does Dijak get his moment in the sun?
Oh, I think this, for me, is the biggest banker of the whole show. You can't put a title on Keith Lee and then take it off him almost straight away. That guy is absolute gold. Look at the rub he got in the Rumble. Look at the rub that he got in Survivor Series. They have got big plans for this guy, and I don't think a hot shot in a North American title on him is part of that. So I think we get a Keith Lee victory here.
I agree. I think WWE sees a lot of good things in Keith Lee moving forward. Wouldn't make sense for him to drop the title right here. I think one of the reasons they're putting him in with Dijak is because they know that they are going to have a match where Lee is going to shine, Dijak is going to shine, but mostly, like Keith Lee is going to be able to pull out a hell of a performance, because they wouldn't have been pushing him the way they did if they didn't believe in him.
Exactly.
I mean, Brock Lesnar seeing that guy come to the ring and Brock being like, oh boy, this is a big dude. Brock was playing it up, and it's insignificant, but deep down that if Brock Brock kind of does what Brock wants to do. So if he was told, look at this guy, you have to sort of look impressed, when he comes in, okay, I'll do it. And he did it.
And then you get the same with the Roman nod at Survivor Series. That's Vince's two big guys there. They've got big plans for Keith Lee in the future, definitely.
And Chad seems to agree that Keith Lee is going to be our man for the weekend as well. He's going to retain the title.
A very sensible chat then.
Very sensible indeed. The NXT Tag Team Champions, the Undisputed Era. How many fish could Bobby Fish fry if Bobby Fish fried fish? I don't remember it. And Kyle O'Reilly versus Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne, the Broserweights. Mags, the skits that they did on NXT this week were spectacular.
They're adorable as a couple. Absolutely adorable. I love them. I absolutely love them. Yeah, they're brilliant. You've got Pete, the straight-laced, no fun kind of guy, and then Matt Riddle, who is just absolutely a bag of charisma. They just work. They just absolutely work. It's brilliant. Brilliant stuff.
They had hinted at it in their promos, and I was so glad that they leaned into it with Matt Riddle being the don't worry, everything's cool, goofy, kind of, a bit of a stoner type, although, they're not fully leaning into it, but, and then Pete Dunne being like, no, you have to stop talking in that, you have to stop saying boot like that.
When Pete Dunne said to Matt, you're a smart ass, and then Matt went, oh, thank you for the compliment, I thought, just absolutely brilliant.
And as someone who lives in the UK, you have to appreciate, I think, Pete Dunne's because referring to the fact that Matt is trying, but it's not working. Like when Matt says, you have to drive on the other side of the street here, Pete. It's not like when you're home in London and you're driving, and then Pete Dunne's like, I'm not from London.
As a Brit who is not from London, I can attest to it. We hate being billed from London.
See, that's it. That's the thing. That's the thing. I think it works on so many levels. And honestly, and I'm going straight into my prediction here, I think this is why Dunne and Riddle are going to win the titles. You just can't break this stuff up just yet. You just can't.
No, I agree. And it's going to probably telegraph another one of my predictions later on. But yeah, it's you've got to put the titles on them, both of them. I mean, Pete Dunne doesn't look the same without some sort of title on him. He's that good, and Matt Riddle is literally one of the hottest things that WWE have. So yeah, you've got to put a title on them guys, absolutely. And unfortunately, Red Dragon are going to be dropping those NXT tag titles, I think. And
it's a good idea to keep the titles on, to put the titles on Riddle and Dunne, because then it establishes them for realsies as a tag team. Because right now, and this has been an issue over the past few months, and it's odd to think, but the tag team division in NXT, it ain't all that great right now. It's very, very thin. You have Red Dragon, you have the Forgotten Sons,
who have been forgotten.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm trying to think the Dusty Classic, they had to do it like NXT versus NXT UK just to fill out the ranks, because otherwise they'd just be throwing people together. And I say it's odd because not all that long ago, your Dusty Classics had DIY, The Revival, AOP, Sanity. That was badass, That was really, really remarkable. And right now, the NXT tag division is very, very, very lackluster.
And it's an interesting kind of dichotomy with the fact that AEW are so tag-centric, and the main competitors NXT have kind of let tag wrestling go off the boil a little bit. It's a kind of a weird way for NXT to book the tag division, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I had some trouble getting into the Dusty Classic this year. However, I really got into it when the Grizzlies Young Veterans started winning matches like that. I thought they were just going to be tossed on their ass by Kushida and Alex Shelley, but because I'm a big Zach Gibson guy. I love Zach Gibson so much.
He is a god. He is an absolute god. It would be brilliant if he was on the black and gold on a weekly basis. If they drafted him over to the NXT US version, yeah.
That said, if that happens, there has to be an orientation video for Full Sail before it starts so that they understand how to do the shoes off chant. That's the only thing, because they tried, bless them, at the Dusty Classic finals. They did their best, but it still wasn't it. I mean, Full Sail, I love you, but you're going to have to work on that. I think that's what's keeping Gibson away, actually.
I'm going to do a Warren special and go with, you people are not good at chanting at Full Sail. You people.
They're good at chanting. They just don't have the shoes off chant down, which is integral. Integral. He hates the chant. He doesn't like it.
British fans are absolutely bonkers. We're bonkers. We are bonkers.
But I love the British crowds, and I know, like, North America, there's a lot of people who get bugged when audiences sort of, like they say, get into business for themselves, and start trying to put themselves over. And there's a lot of North American fans who see the British fans act and chant, and they're like, oh, it's just the audience getting over. But no. That's just how British audiences at sporting events. That's always that's what they do. Period.
That's football matches. When we go and proper football matches like association football, it's just 90 minutes of crowd singing. Yeah, and that's what we bring to the wrestling business as well. It's not about the crowd trying to be part of the show. Well, it is about them trying to be part of the show, but not take over the show.
So I think we're in agreement here that the Broserweights are going to pick up the win here and walk out with the titles, and I think it is the best possible outcome because I think it'll be good for the tag division. I think it's going to be great for both guys because, man, if we keep getting some of this personality, this odd couple pairing, I'm fine with that. It's really, really good. Milk it, baby, milk it.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. That's kind of weird. NXT Women's Championship will be defended as well. Champion Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair. Now, this is an interesting one. Because you kind of feel like the ending's was telegraphed the moment Rhea Ripley showed up on Raw 2 weeks ago to say, hey, Charles Flair, I would like you to challenge me for the title. Don't you think?
I did. And then we got the Bianca Belair promo. You don't even go here. What you're doing here. And that kind of brought her back into it for me. But then she showed up again last Monday and it was all about Charlotte. Like, I was thinking to myself, Bianca should show up and blindside them all. But we just ended up with no one else. It was just Charlotte and Rhea again. Yeah, but then Bianca got a quick squash match and then another promo this week on NXT, and then she laid out Rhea Ripley. So Bianca has done amazing to keep this kind of like not be telegraphed as much. I still think Rhea is probably going to win. But I've also got a feeling there may be some shenanigans, and I think that this feud isn't quite over. The shenanigans. Okay, I want two things. We're going to talk about the shenanigans thing, but first, I think they did a good job in throwing in a monkey wrench in the ending's been telegraphed when they had Bianca, Charlotte, and Rhea Ripley in the same ring in NXT 2 weeks ago. But this week it felt like everyone was back in their proper places. You know what I mean? Yeah. If Bianca had showed up on Raw to take them out, then I feel the monkey wrench would still be applicable. Then it'd be like, oh, okay, all right, so she's taking this seriously enough where she knows Rhea's going to come out,
and you be like, no, I'm still the champ and so on. And she comes out, continues to blur the lines as to where this is going. And I feel then that it would be a little blurrier going into Portland tomorrow. But everyone was sort of back in their proper places, Charlotte and Rhea, and then Bianca back on NXT. Or if Charlotte had showed up again, then I'd be on NXT. Then I'd be like, okay, they're keeping this mystery alive. Because right now, as far as I think it's done the Takeover match a disservice, because I think the outcome is set in stone. Mm-hmm. But then again, like I like to say, it's not because an outcome is predictable that the match isn't good. We know the Titanic sinks, but it's the road to get to there that can be fun to watch, right?
Fun could be a stretch with the Titanic sinking. I don't think they're having much fun. But yeah, I get your point. Bianca is an absolutely amazing talent, and Rhea has been she's been an absolute force of nature since starting with the NXT UK and then moving to NXT US. It's going to be a great match. It's absolutely going to be a great match. They've obviously got a lot of hopes for Bianca. She was another one, kind of like Keith Lee, where she got a massive rub at the Royal Rumble. So,
and some would argue that it's about time.
Yeah, but I just don't want her to go to Raw or SmackDown being that nearly woman where she nearly got the title. She's had quite a few title shots now, and she's just never been able to get over that hump. Mm-hmm. I think she kind of deserves it. I don't think she's getting it here, but I don't think this is the last we're going to see of Bianca and Ripley.
I think Bianca is more than ready to be up. They say it, right? It's not call-ups anymore. Everything is all. But to be on one of the main brands, I think she'd thrive actually there. I think she is one of the women right now who is, and I'm doing air quotes for those of you who are listening, not watching, who is suffering because of the depth of talent that they have right now in the NXT women's division. And we talked about it a little earlier. Mm-hmm. I think that you put her on SmackDown, she is an instant star.
Yeah.
Instant star. And they need... Look, when you think about on SmackDown right now, Bayley's the champ. Sure, Sasha's there, but she's out. And there's no timetable for her return right now. We don't know. We don't know if she's going to be there for Mania this year as it stands. We don't know what's going on. So you have Bayley, you have Naomi, you have Carmella, who are, the three of the bigger stars that you have there. They like to have things revolve around the horsewomen. The horsewomen are the anchors of the NXT of the WWE women's division. So Bayley right now is the only horsewoman. Who else do you have on SmackDown, and especially on the heel side?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Bianca needs to be there. She needs it for herself, but she needs it for. She needs it for herself, but the women's division on SmackDown needs her even more.
And I think you hit the nail on the head. I think she'd be an absolute perfect fit over there. So yeah, that would be a great addition to that SmackDown women's roster, especially like I said with Sasha being out indeterminably.
And she has the attitude. She has her attitude, her presentation. It would get over huge. It'd get over huge.
Yeah, and again, you touched on the women's roster being kind of overlooked in NXT. You've got the likes of Candice LeRae, Io Shirai, who are not on this card, and it's mind-blowing, and they're not in significant feuds. So maybe Bianca going across to SmackDown might free up a little bit of space and a little bit of time to push one of these other amazing talents.
And that's an excellent point, and like we Io, Candice, and Mercedes Martinez is not there either. Look, and they're not on the card, and we're not like, ooh, we've got the B team here. No. We're not like suffering. We're not like, oh, these are so women's matches. No, we're gonna get some great women's matches nonetheless. It's crazy.
Yeah, it certainly is.
So who wins here? Aaron?
I think Rhea wins, but I would also not be shocked with a shenanigan finish, maybe leading to a WrestleMania triple threat.
This is what I wanted to ask you about. Tell me what you mean about shenanigans.
I'm thinking that we get a certain Flair turning up at NXT Portland and attacking a certain Rhea Ripley to get her a bit of a comeuppance. And I think that leads to a dusty finish, maybe. And it leads to Bianca saying, "You never beat me. I want in." And then we get Charlotte versus Rhea versus Bianca.
There'd be lots worse. There would be lots worse than a triple threat between those three women. I'd be down for that. I'd really be excited for that. Okay, you could think of much, much worse situations. Interesting, though, because takeovers don't lean into the shenanigans all that much, usually, right? It's not like... It's not something that we see very often as far as takeovers go.
But this is a special takeover. It's the first major standalone takeover. We're getting more matches on a takeover than we normally do. This is kind of NXT almost like coming away from being the undercard for WWE programming and kind of being their own thing. So maybe we're going to get that kind of like story build up for the biggest show of the year.
I can buy that. I can buy into that. All right, good. Chat seems to think that Rhea's going to retain as well. That's what I think as well. Good. Main event time. The NXT Championship. Held currently by one Adam Cole, which I heard he was dead. But anyway.
I heard Warren was dead as well.
Oh my God! Versus challenger Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa wins. That was the show, everyone. Good night. Thank you for coming. I mean, no, but I'm just throwing that out there. But is there another outcome here, Mags?
My brain says Ciampa wins. My brain says this build-up has been absolutely spot on for Ciampa to regain Goldie. It's just been brilliant build. These two guys are so good at harping a match. But WWE like to throw spanners in the works, and I could see Adam Cole retaining, and then we get Ciampa getting his WrestleMania time moment of winning Goldie. But my brain is saying after all this build-up, after all the promos, I think it's Ciampa's time, and I think the Undisputed Era leave Portland with absolutely no gold whatsoever.
That's what I'm thinking too. But look, you I think you made a good point here when you say, maybe that you could see Adam Cole winning. NXT, as opposed to anywhere else in WWE, is very, very good, and we know this as far as its main title goes, and we know this because we've seen it before. They're very, very good at long-term storytelling. So if they do have something planned out to lead us into WrestleMania weekend, where Ciampa does finally win Goldie back, I wouldn't be surprised either, because they're not. If history were to repeat itself, we're not going to get a Adam Cole Tommaso Ciampa one-off. We're going to get one, maybe two more matches between them. They're going to escalate this one, and it's a good idea for them to do so because these guys are really, really good at professional wrestling. So I wouldn't be surprised if they, I don't think they drag it out with the same intensity, and I'd say drag it out lovingly, as Gargano versus Ciampa, because that had so much backstory and they leaned into it so hard. But Ciampa's story about his neck injury, having to drop the title, that story, that backstory in and about itself could easily, right, carry an argument for Adam Cole to retain tonight. so that Ciampa can win it at another larger, more important event with perhaps an extra stipulation involved.
Yeah, I agree. And NXT have proven time and time again that when we as fans think someone is ready to move on, take Shayna Baszler, for instance, how long were we clamouring for her to move to Raw, SmackDown, and they kept her there, and they kept the title on her when everybody thought that was the time for her to lose it. Mm-hmm. We could easily see this with Adam Cole. I mean, the guy's a Triple Crown winner over at NXT. He's got nothing else there to prove, and I could easily see Tommaso Ciampa winning this match, and then the Undisputed Era ride off into the sunset and kind of start setting up their maybe main roster WrestleMania moments.
You think so?
But I could also see Adam Cole retaining and this going to WrestleMania, this being the WrestleMania moment. So, yeah, that for me is the good thing about NXT, that we can sit here and predict what's going to happen, but we never really know.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, look, I think, because I agree with you with the promos, with with how Ciampa's always been focused on the belt, the way Full Sail reacts, how everything is built right now, it feels like Ciampa's winning. But that's the thing. Since it feels like he's winning, he might just not either.
Exactly.
And I'd be okay with that because I trust in NXT storytelling as opposed to what's going on SmackDown, for instance. Because you can't crap on Raw all that much these days. Raw's good. But as far as NXT storytelling, I'm very, very but I still feel like I think the safe call is Ciampa winning. I really do. Ushering, first Sunday night pay-per-view, standalone thing. There's something historic about that as well. I think it'd be a good move. And Ciampa's always been about the belt. Since he's won it, when he entered the ring at the end of NXT this week and he got into the ring, he wasn't staring at Adam Cole. His eyes were fixed on the belt. He doesn't care who's holding the title. Goldie is his. Daddy's home. It's time to come home. And all the time that he was there, he was just staring at it. And it's when he still had the title and he was still very much a heel, and he'd hoist it up above his head, you'd notice, he'd never really look at the belt. He'd look at his nameplate. He'd kiss the nameplate, not the belt. It's these little things about Tommaso Ciampa that make him so good, and that establish him as a credible champion for NXT, because you're like, yeah, I mean, we're all sitting here talking about it, but we know deep down in our hearts, we buy into it. Adam Cole has just borrowed the title from him. It's not... The NXT Championship is Tommaso Ciampa's. Any final thoughts on this?
And for me, as well, you've got to look to what would happen after this match or after this feud. We've still got the kind of history between Ciampa and Gargano. We've got Ciampa and Balor. We've got Ciampa and Dream. But if you keep that title on Cole, we've kind of seen all those feuds already, and it would be kind of going over old ground, where with Ciampa as champion, and he didn't lose the belt originally, we've still got those matches to come, those amazing Dream feuds. So yeah, it makes sense for it to be Ciampa. It really, really does.
My God. You just made me realize that despite how stacked this card is, Velveteen Dream's not on it.
I know.
That's
mental.
Nuts, huh?
And no Roddy Strong.
Man, no. But I mean, just Dream as fun, because Dream's a superstar, right? And I know he just came back from injury. I'm not saying, he should be on the card. That's not what I'm saying. I know why he's not on the card. It's just we're sitting here, we're excited, we're saying, what a stacked card. And then imagine, Velveteen Dream's not even on it. By God, Mags, we're spoiled, is what we are. And we are. And we sit around on our Twitter feeds and we did our podcasts and we bitch about shit. We're just spoiled. That's what we are.
We're like big babies.
I know. We're never satisfied. Fuck us. Go to your room.
Brilliant.
Well, that wraps up the card. In a few words, Mags, are we gonna like this show?
I don't know. It's fair to middling. No, we say this time and time again when it comes to an NXT takeover that it's going to be the best one ever, but this one potentially could be the very best NXT takeover ever.
There's a case to be made for it. It's going to be fantastic. It's so much good stuff from top to bottom. It's such a good time to be a fan of professional wrestling. By God. Mags, one more time before you go, thank you again for dropping in and joining me and suffering through the issues that we had at first, and also my voice. Tell the people where they can locate you on social media and on podcasts and all the good stuff you do, man.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. It's been too long since I've been on this show, and guys, all it takes is a pity tweet. Just tag Warren in it. Just put out a pity tweet and you'll be on the show. That's how it works.
Guilt me. It works. Don't tell Kristen, though. Okay.
So you can find me on Twitter at DAJKirkby. I'm usually involved in some sort of wrestling debate / argument. I do a podcast called While We Watch, where I speak to wrestling fans and content creators about their love of this wacky sport of people in lycra pretending to fart. I also do a podcast called Badlands with my podcast wife, Mr. Paul Toller, where we discuss the Mount Rushmores of wrestling. We have a different topic every week, and we just basically thrash out which is the best Mount Rushmore of that certain topic. So, you can find Why We Watch on the Visionaries Wrestling Network, wherever you get your podcasts, and Badlands is currently on the Chairshot Radio Network, but we are actually merging with E-Wrestling News, so we're going to be heading up their podcast division there in the next couple of months or so. So, big things happening for Badlands, and Why We Watch is my baby. So, come and check me out. Come and give me a listen, and if you'd like to be a guest, hit me up in the DMs.
Guilt him too.
It works on me. It definitely works on me.
Mags is a great guy, and you should definitely follow all of his stuff. It's fantastic, and I'm so glad we had the time to chat this morning. Folks, remember, tomorrow evening for Takeover Portland, I will be doing a live watch along right here, and then once we're done, I'm heading over to the Fightful channel to recap the events with Alex Pulowski. It's going to be him and I taking over for the evening. So I've got a whole evening of Portland stuff, Portlandia. No, that's something else for everyone to enjoy. So be sure to be there. Mags, again, thank you very much for popping in. It was my pleasure to have you.
The honor was mine, sir. Thank you very much. And let's not leave it 10 months till next time.
No, we'll try not to. We'll definitely try not to. And thank you all for tuning in this morning or evening or whatever. Just thank you for watching, for listening. There you go. I'll just leave it at that. I'll see you next time.